The daily grind was Sarah's happy place. It wasn't fancy, just cozy, with mismatched chairs and the smell of roasted coffee beans hanging in the air. Every morning, before school, she'd stop by for her usual, a latte with an extra shot of espresso. The best part about the daily grind, though, wasn't the coffee itself, but George, the barista. He was an older man, with kind eyes and a smile that crinkled the corners of his face. He always remembered her name and her order. But around Sarah, George always seemed a bit flustered. He'd fumble with the milk steamer, or spill a bit of coffee, always apologizing profusely. Sarah thought it was kind of sweet. He acted like she was some delicate flower when she was just a regular girl who liked caffeine. He was friendly to everyone, but with Sarah, there was a different energy. It was like he was trying really hard to be proper. She knew he probably thought she was much younger than she was, and maybe he was worried about being too friendly. George was a fixture at the daily grind. He'd been there for years, long before Sarah even started high school. He knew all the regulars, their names, their orders, their little quirks. He was a good listener, offering a kind word or a sympathetic ear when needed. He truly cared about the people who came into the shop. He took pride in his work, carefully crafting each latte, each cappuccino. He even made little foam art sometimes, hearts, leaves, simple things that made people smile. Sarah always appreciated his efforts. She knew he worked hard, and she always made sure to say thank you. She liked his gentle nature and the way he made her feel like her day was starting off right. Even his flustered moments were endearing. She found it funny how a grown man could get so tongue-tied around her. It made her feel special, in a way. It wasn't a romantic feeling, more like the comfortable affection you'd have for a favorite uncle. This particular morning was like any other. Sarah walked into the daily grind, the bell above the door jingling cheerfully. George looked up from wiping down the counter and his face lit up. "Good morning, Sarah." "The usual?" he asked, already reaching for a mug. "Good morning, George," she replied, smiling. "Yes, please." As he prepared her latte, he asked, "Big day today?" "Not really," Sarah said. "Just school. But it was my birthday yesterday." George's hands paused for a fraction of a second. "Oh. Happy belated birthday, Sarah. I didn't realize. How old are you now?" He seemed genuinely curious, his eyes twinkling with warmth. "Well," Sarah began, a mischievous glint in her eye. "I guess you can stop worrying now." George looked confused. "Stop worrying? About what, Sarah?" Sarah leaned against the counter, a playful smile on her face. "About, being too friendly with the young girl who comes in for coffee every day." She paused for effect. "I just turned 18. The words hung in the air. George's eyes widened. He was holding Sarah's latte, ready to hand it over, but his hand froze. The color drained from his face, replaced by a look of utter shock. He opened his mouth to say something, but no words came out. He just stared at her, dumbfounded. Sarah had expected a reaction, but not this reaction. She suddenly felt a little bad for teasing him. Maybe she should have just told him her age normally. She was about to say something to ease the tension when... clatter! The latte slipped from George's grasp, crashing onto the counter and sending a spray of hot coffee and milk everywhere. Some of it splashed onto Sarah's shirt, some onto the floor, and some even splattered onto the pastry display. The sound echoed through the otherwise quiet coffee shop, drawing the attention of the other customers. George's face turned even redder, if that was possible. "Oh my goodness! Sarah, I am so sorry." He grabbed a handful of napkins and frantically started dabbing at the spilled coffee. Sarah jumped back, surprised by the sudden mess. "It's okay, George. Really, it's just coffee." But she could feel the warmth soaking into her shirt, and she knew it was going to stain. Plus, everyone was staring. This was definitely not how she had imagined her morning going. The dropped cup was like a loud, messy punctuation mark on their usual friendly interaction, signaling that things had definitely changed. "Let me get you another latte, completely free, of course. George offered, his voice still laced with apology. He was wiping down the counter with a near-obsessive fervor, trying to erase any trace of the accident. Really, it's fine, George, Sarah said, but he insisted. He quickly made her another latte, this time handling the mug with extreme care, as if it were made of spun glass. He slid it across the counter to her, avoiding eye contact. I just assumed you were much younger, he mumbled, still cleaning. I didn't mean to be inappropriate in any way. Sarah sighed. This was getting awkward. George, you weren't being inappropriate. I was just teasing you. It's okay. She took a sip of her latte. It tasted the same, but the atmosphere had completely changed. The playful banter was gone, replaced by a thick layer of embarrassment. She wished she could rewind time and just order her coffee like normal. After that, something shifted. George was still friendly, but the flustered nervousness was gone. He stood a little straighter, his voice was calmer, and he looked Sarah directly in the eye when he spoke. It was like he had aged 10 years in 10 seconds. He still remembered her order, of course, but he didn't fumble with the milk or spill any coffee. He was still kind, but the slightly awkward, almost paternal concern had vanished. He was treating her like an adult, a customer, a person he respected. The change was so noticeable that even Mrs. Henderson, who came in every morning for a black coffee and a gossip session, commented on it. Well, George, you seem much more composed today, she said, peering at him over her glasses. What's gotten into you? George just smiled faintly and went back to making coffee. Sarah couldn't help but wonder what he was really thinking. The next morning, Sarah found herself lingering a little longer than usual at the coffee shop. She had finished her latte, but she didn't want to leave just yet. She was curious about this new George, this more reserved, more mature version of the barista she had come to know. So, she said, leaning against the counter. 18. Big year, huh? George chuckled, a low, genuine sound. It is. What are your plans? College? Travel? Maybe college, Sarah said, shrugging. I'm not really sure yet. I've been thinking about taking a year off, maybe volunteering somewhere. That's a wonderful idea, George said, his eyes thoughtful. It's important to see the world, to experience different things before settling down. He paused, a wistful expression on his face. I wish I had done that when I was your age. And then, for the first time, Sarah felt like she was seeing a glimpse of the real George, not just the friendly barista. What did you do instead? Sarah asked, genuinely interested. George smiled, a little sadly. Life happened. Responsibilities. I had to take care of my family. He paused. But I always dreamed of being a filmmaker. I used to spend hours watching old movies, studying the way they were made. Old movies? Sarah perked up. I love old movies. Especially the black and white ones. George's eyes lit up. Really? What's your favorite? Oh, that's tough, Sarah said, thinking for a moment. Probably Casablanca. Or maybe The Apartment. Excellent choices, George exclaimed. Billy Wilder is a genius. They spent the next few minutes excitedly discussing their favorite classic films, discovering a shared passion that neither of them knew existed. It was surprising, and a little thrilling, to find this unexpected connection. Sarah realized that George was more than just a barista. He was a person with hidden depths, just like in the movies they both loved. You know, Sarah said, a thought striking her. You should make a movie. Even just a short one. I bet you'd be amazing at it. George laughed. Oh, I haven't touched a camera in years. Besides, I don't even know where to start. Well, what about painting? Sarah asked. You know, like drawing pictures. Did you ever do that? George's expression softened. Actually, I used to be quite good at drawing. I even painted a few murals when I was younger. Nothing fancy, just simple designs for local businesses. Murals? Sarah's eyes widened. That's incredible. Why did you stop? George shrugged. Same old story. Life got in the way. But I still have some of my old sketchbooks at home. Filled with ideas. He trailed off, a hint of longing in his voice. Sarah sensed a hidden talent, a dormant passion waiting to be rekindled. She had a feeling that George was more than just a barista with a love for old movies. He was an artist at heart. You should look at those sketchbooks again, George, Sarah urged. Maybe you could even start painting again. There's a blank wall in the back of the shop. It's kind of boring. Maybe you could paint something there. George looked surprised. You think so? I know so, Sarah said with conviction. You're talented, George. Don't let that talent go to waste. He smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached his eyes. Thank you, Sarah. That means a lot to me. He paused, considering. Maybe I will take a look at those old sketchbooks. Sarah felt a surge of satisfaction. She had planted a seed, a tiny spark of inspiration in George's heart. She didn't know if he would actually do it, but just the thought of him rediscovering his passion made her happy. She knew that he was more than just a barista, and she was determined to help him see that too. The bell above the door jingled, signaling another customer. Well, I should probably get going, Sarah said. See you tomorrow, George. See you, Sarah, he replied, his voice a little lighter than usual. The next morning, when Sarah went to the daily grind, George was already there, behind the counter, a little earlier than usual. He looked a little tired, but there was a spark in his eye that hadn't been there before. He handed her her latte, but this time, it was different. Instead of the usual simple foam design, there was a small, delicate sketch on the side of the cup. It was a drawing of a bird, perched on a branch, singing its heart out. Sarah gasped. George, this is beautiful. He blushed slightly. I wanted to thank you, he said. For yesterday. For reminding me about my art. You're really good, Sarah said, admiring the sketch. You should do this on all the cups. Maybe, George said, smiling. Maybe I will. It was a small gesture, but it spoke volumes. It was a sign that George was starting to believe in himself again, thanks to a little encouragement from a regular customer who saw more in him than just a barista. Over the next few weeks, their interactions changed again. The initial awkwardness had faded, replaced by a comfortable, easy friendship. George started drawing different sketches on Sarah's cups every morning, flowers, animals, even little movie scenes. Other customers noticed and started requesting their own drawings, turning George into something of a local celebrity. They talked more, too, about everything and nothing. Sarah told George about her classes, her friends, her worries about the future. George shared stories about his past, his dreams, his regrets. He even brought in his old sketchbooks to show her, filled with incredible drawings and paintings that had been hidden away for years. Their friendship wasn't romantic, but it was something special. It was a connection between two people from different generations, brought together by a shared love for coffee, art, and a little bit of unexpected honesty. The dropped cup had started a chain reaction, leading them to a place either of them could have predicted. Sarah realized that George was more than just a friendly face at her local coffee shop. He was a talented artist, a kind soul, and a wise friend. She started to appreciate his quiet observations, his gentle humor, and his genuine interest in her life. He wasn't just a barista who knew her order. He was someone she looked forward to seeing every day. She admired his resilience, his ability to keep smiling even when things were tough. She respected his honesty, his willingness to share his regrets and his dreams. And she was grateful for his friendship, a connection that had blossomed in the most unexpected way. She also realized that her initial teasing about her age had been a little unfair. She had been so focused on proving that she was grown up that she hadn't considered how her words might affect him. She was glad that they had moved past that awkward moment and built something real, something meaningful. The daily grind had become more than just a coffee shop. It was a place where she had found a true friend. From George's perspective, Sarah was a breath of fresh air. She was young, vibrant, and full of life. She reminded him of the dreams he had once had, the passions he had put aside. He saw in her the potential he had never fully realized in himself. He appreciated her honesty, her willingness to be herself, even when it was awkward or uncomfortable. He admired her spirit, her determination to make a difference in the world. And he was grateful for her friendship, a connection that had given him a new sense of purpose. He had always enjoyed his job at the daily grind, but Sarah's presence had made it something more. It had become a place where he could share his art, his stories, his wisdom. It had become a place where he could connect with someone who saw him for who he truly was, not just a barista serving coffee. She helped him believe in himself again. She made him feel young again. She was a gift. One day, Sarah had an idea. "George," she said, "why don't you paint that mural? The one on the back wall?" George hesitated. "I don't know, Sarah. It's been so long. I'm not sure I still have it in me." "Of course you do," Sarah insisted. "And I'll help you. We can design it together. It'll be a project for the whole community." The idea sparked something in George. He had been hesitant, but Sarah's enthusiasm was infectious. He started to imagine the possibilities, the colors, the images that could fill that blank wall. "What do you have in mind?" he asked, his eyes gleaming with a newfound excitement. "Well," Sarah said, "I was thinking something that represents our town. Something that shows what makes it special. Maybe a scene of the park, the library, the old movie theater." George smiled. "I like that. We could even include some of the people who come into the coffee shop every day. Mrs. Henderson, Mr. Peterson, you." Sarah laughed. "That would be amazing." The mural project was born. The next few days were a flurry of activity. George dusted off his old art supplies, rediscovering long-forgotten brushes and paints. Sarah helped him research different mural techniques and gather inspiration. They spent hours brainstorming ideas, sketching designs, and choosing colors. George was nervous, but also incredibly excited. He hadn't felt this alive in years. Sarah's enthusiasm was contagious, and her belief in him gave him the confidence to take the leap. Finally, the day came when they were ready to start. George, with Sarah by his side, stood in front of the blank wall, armed with paintbrushes and a vision. He took a deep breath, dipped his brush into the paint, and made the first stroke. The mural had begun. The whole coffee shop seemed to buzz with anticipation. Everyone was excited to see what George would create. It felt like more than just a mural. It felt like a new beginning. As George worked on the mural, the coffee shop became a hub of activity. People stopped by to watch his progress, offering words of encouragement and suggestions. Mrs. Henderson even brought him cookies every day. Sarah was there every step of the way, helping him mix paints, clean brushes, and offer her artistic input. She also took photos of the mural's progress and posted them on social media, generating even more excitement. Soon, other members of the community started to get involved. A local hardware store donated paint, and a group of students from the high school volunteered to help with the painting. The mural had become a community project, bringing people together in a way that no one had expected. It wasn't just George's mural anymore. It was everyone's mural. It felt like the whole town was holding a paintbrush, adding their own little touch to the masterpiece. The coffee shop was now a place where everyone could express themselves. After weeks of hard work, the mural was finally finished. It was a vibrant, colorful depiction of the town, filled with familiar faces and beloved landmarks. There was the park with its towering oak trees, the library with its inviting front porch, the old movie theater with its marquee shining bright. And there were the people, Mrs. Henderson sipping her coffee, Mr. Peterson reading his newspaper, Sarah laughing with her friends, and George himself, standing proudly in front of his masterpiece. The mural captured the heart and soul of the town, its spirit of community, its sense of belonging. It was a testament to the power of art to bring people together, to inspire hope, and to celebrate the beauty of everyday life. The once boring wall was now a vibrant tapestry of shared experiences and cherished memories. The coffee shop was now a work of art. To celebrate the completion of the mural, the Daily Grind hosted a small unveiling ceremony. The whole town turned out, eager to see George's masterpiece. There were speeches, applause, and plenty of coffee and pastries. George stood proudly beside the mural, beaming with pride. He thanked everyone for their support, especially Sarah, who he called his muse and inspiration. "I never thought I would paint again," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "But Sarah showed me that it's never too late to follow your dreams. She reminded me that I still had something to offer the world." Sarah blushed, touched by his kind words. She was so happy for George, so proud of what he had accomplished. She knew that she had played a small part in his journey, but he had given her something even greater, a true and lasting friendship. The ceremony ended with everyone taking photos in front of the mural, capturing the joy and celebration of the moment. The dropped cup was long forgotten, replaced by a shared sense of accomplishment and a renewed sense of community spirit. Years passed. Sarah went off to college, traveled the world, and eventually returned to her hometown, eager to reconnect with the people and places she loved. The Daily Grind was still there, of course, and so was George. He was a little older, a little grayer, but his smile was as warm and welcoming as ever. The mural was still there too, a vibrant reminder of the power of community and the beauty of second chances. Sarah and George's friendship continued to deepen over the years, weathering the storms of life and celebrating the joys. They were an unlikely pair, separated by age and experience, but bound together by a shared love for art, coffee, and a little bit of unexpected honesty. Their story was a testament to the fact that friendship can blossom in the most ordinary places, and that even a dropped cup can lead to something extraordinary. The Daily Grind remained a special place for Sarah, a place where she always felt at home. And George, the friendly barista, was more than just a friend, he was family. And so, the story of Sarah and George, the young woman and the barista, came full circle. It was a story about friendship, about community, and about the transformative power of art. It was a story about seeing beyond the surface, about recognizing the hidden talents and passions that lie dormant within us all. It was a story that reminded everyone that age is just a number, that kindness is a universal language, and that even the smallest act of encouragement can make a world of difference. It was a story that proved that sometimes, the most unexpected friendships are the ones that change our lives forever. And it all started with a dropped cup. A clumsy moment, a flustered apology, and a little bit of teasing. But from that simple beginning, a beautiful friendship bloomed, painting the town with color, laughter, and a whole lot of love. The Daily Grind became more than just a coffee shop, it became a symbol of hope, connection, and the enduring power of the human spirit. It was a place where everyone was welcome, and everyone had a story to tell. And George and Sarah were there to listen, one cup of coffee at a time. The most important thing to remember is that kindness matters. A simple smile, a listening ear, a word of encouragement, these small gestures can have a ripple effect, changing someone's life in ways you never imagined. Don't be afraid to reach out to people, to connect with those who seem different from you, to offer your support and your friendship. You never know what hidden talents or passions you might uncover, or what beautiful connections you might create. Be open to the unexpected, embrace the possibilities, and remember that even a dropped cup can be the start of something wonderful. So, the next time you visit your local coffee shop, take a moment to look around. You might just find a new friend, a new inspiration, or a new adventure waiting to begin. And who knows, maybe you'll even inspire someone else to follow their dreams, one cup of coffee at a time. Remember Sarah and George, and let their story remind you to be kind, be open, and be grateful for the simple things in life.